Hi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. Today, I want to give a quick little movie review about the newest horror thriller release, Barbarian. Now, this isn't going to contain spoilers, although it's going to be very difficult for me to contain myself because there's so many little things I want to talk about in the movie. So if you have seen the movie, I feel like you and I are on the same level because what the freaking heck is going on? You know what I mean? Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to say that I enjoyed this movie, all right? And I'm so glad I went with someone to see this because this movie provokes a lot of interesting conversations, mainly about what certain things could mean, symbolisms, or, you know, even like the title. Like, what does the title actually mean? Who is the real villain? Oh, and before I tell you what this is about, first and foremost, I highly encourage you guys to check out my Patreon. Movie reactions and reviews and all that jazz will be uploaded consistently on there while I take a break from YouTube movie reactions. There will be new ones on my Patreon every week. So if that interests you, you can get them for $1 a month. Link for that will be in the description. Now, let me tell you what this movie is about. So, this movie is about a girl named Tess that arrives at her Airbnb in Detroit. Is it Detroit? I'm pretty sure it's Detroit. In Detroit, Michigan, and she opens the door and realizes that someone else has also booked that Airbnb for that same weekend as well. And if this wasn't a horror movie, it would be sort of a meet cute, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh, there's only one bed, two of us. You know, it can allude to some juicy juice, you know what I'm saying? But this is a horror movie, so it's unsettling that there's someone else already there, conveniently on the same weekend that she booked her Airbnb. So that's basically the premise, all right? She's there, this other person is there as well, Bill Skarsgård. We love Bill Skarsgård. Although every time I see him though, I can only think about Pennywise. It's not his fault, it's just the eyes. You know what I mean? His eyes are just Pennywise. So, first and foremost, the acting in this was good. The leading lady and Keith, Bill Skarsgård, and other people in this movie are amazing. I won't say who else is in it because pretty much like every other review you might have seen, I as well want you to go in as blind as you possibly can because that's how I did. I just knew exactly that premise that I just explained to you, and that's it. And let me tell you, it strays so far away from that, all right? Like, it's just intense. It's an intense movie. Like I said, it's really interesting. Like, the more you think about it, the more interesting, and the more I ended up liking it, the more I thought about it. So yeah, it does call for some interesting conversation because I will say there's a lot of like similes or like metaphors for different things that could be interpreted, or maybe they aren't supposed to, but there are things that I did interpret to mean something else, and it's just an interesting story. Me and my husband saw it together and we liked that we didn't know what was gonna happen next, you know what I mean? And I feel like especially for the horror genre, that is something that is really valuable, is when you can't expect what's gonna happen next, or you can't anticipate the next scene, what characters are gonna choose, whatever. Now, like I said, it is a horror movie. So there are some things that the movie kind of falls victim to that lots of movies in general kind of fall victim to. One being just characters doing things that don't make no sense, all right? That I can kind of pass over or gloss over. considering it's a movie and it's for entertainment, and it's all fictional, so of course there are some decisions that they are going to make that are going to seem improbable or impossible for us to comprehend, but it's a movie, so that. But I will say there are some things that are inexplainable that just straight up should be explained. I'm not gonna dive more into that, but there are things that were, one, should be more explained, or maybe they could have made it a little bit more reasonable or rational, realistic, I guess I should say. And two, there are things that they added in or that were just in the movie that I felt like were kind of unnecessary. More specifically, I'm thinking about one specific thing, but again, I'm not going to spoil it. I mean, it's not really a spoiler because it never comes back up later on in the movie, so maybe it's not a spoiler if I tell you, but I'm not going to anyways, you know? I'll let you guys figure that out yourselves. It's just one of those things, you know, that could have used a last home through. All right, some screws need to be tightened in that movie. I kind of felt that same way with The Black Phone. You know, The Black Phone wasn't a terrible movie. It was good, but there were some things that I felt like, you know, they could have tightened the screws a little bit to really make it a solid movie. There were a lot of things that were not explained in that movie, and there are a lot of things in this movie that aren't explained, but it's not as frustrating as it was in The Black Phone. So that's just my opinion though. Honestly, I think on Letterboxd, I gave this 4 stars. I originally gave this 3.5 stars. But like I said, the more I thought about it, the more I started to like it, because I thought that the movie could be interpreted in a completely different way. The stuff we were supposed to be scared of, I wasn't scared of. You know, there's other things that we could be more scared of, you know what I mean, in the movie. Like the title can have multiple meanings, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, thinking it over, and I kind of like doing that for movie reviews now. I want the movie to settle in and seep into my skin a little bit more, seep into my brain a little bit more, so that I can get a better understanding of a rating. So on Letterboxd, I bumped it from 3.5 to 4, and out of 10, because I like to rate my stuff out of 10, I think I would give this maybe like an 8 out of 10. Because like I said, as a horror movie, it's really good. I know that might be a big claim. I don't even care. It's good as a horror movie because to me, it was scary. Like, it actually was pretty scary. Now, that's also just an opinion, but I mean, the stuff was scary. I wasn't terrified, scared out of my boots about it. Kind of like how I was for Terrifier. That movie freaked me out. But it was scary enough for me to be like, oh shit, like what's going on? The tension and the suspense aspect of it really played well in this movie. Like, they really paid off in this movie because I just never knew what was gonna happen next. And like I said, for horror movies nowadays, I feel like that's not common because it's so easy to predict what's gonna happen in a typical horror movie. There's a formula, setup, payoff, and whatever. But this movie didn't follow like any sort of formula at all. You know what I mean? It was kind of all over the place, but I enjoyed it because like I said, I didn't know what was gonna happen next. So those were all positives for me. I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys see this in theaters if you can. If not, just watching it whenever it comes, if it ever comes on like streaming or Amazon Prime Video or whatever, then do that as well. But I highly encourage you, if you can't see this in theaters, or if you're gonna see this in general, just go see it. It is such an interesting movie to decipher and to talk about afterwards. And I encourage you guys to think about it more after you watch it, and just think about like the little details in the movie and how everything like comes together. You know what I mean? Because that was like the most interesting part for me, was the afterwards. And I like a movie that can provoke conversation or, you know, speculation after the fact, because it just makes you want to watch the movie again, and you have another whole different experience watching it because you have a whole different, you know, whole different lenses to see the movie from. So with that said and done, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons, and especially to Matt O'Keefe, AJ, Mark Sylvester, and Edward Fisher. Thank you so much, guys, and make sure to go ahead and check out my Patreon if you haven't already. All right, so if you want to get videos earlier than when I post them here on YouTube, or as of for right now, movie reactions every week, then go ahead, check out my Patreon. A link for that will be in the description below. Thank you guys for coming along with me on this journey. Again, if you have seen this movie, please let me know. Try your best not to spoil it if you have seen this movie, because I don't want anyone to get spoiled before they see this. I want them to go in as blind as I possibly can. As I'm sure everyone giving reviews is probably saying. So go in not expecting anything, all right? Just go in with anticipation. And let me know, what are some other upcoming movies that you guys are excited about? I have a couple, well, more than a couple. I have a pretty big list so far of what movies I'm most excited for to come out. So if you want to see me talk about any of those, leave that in the comments as well. I'm really interested to see what new movies you guys are interested in seeing coming out this year. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz. And as always, thanks for watching.